I have not talked a lot on this channel thus far about The Legend of Korra because it is a lightning rod for criticism, but I do love this show. I want to make that clear. Back in the day, I made a very long video defending the much maligned Season 2, but Nickelodeon took it down. You'd think they'd want more videos defending their show, but apparently not. Anyway, today I will be talking about an aspect of the show that has garnered significantly more praise. The relationship between these two. I don't need to tell you how important and groundbreaking this is. A lot of people say they should have gone further, but this ignores a few things. Number one, they have gone further, as you would know if you had read the comics. While these comics did not impress me as much as the Avatar comics did, they do indeed develop this relationship. Also, number two, they did as much as possible given the time. Don't be presentist, is what I'm saying. If you're wondering what presentism is, it's a historical idea that goes like this. A lot of people apply the standards and views of the present on the past while ignoring the proper context. Other shows could go further because of what The Legend of Korra did. But there are a lot of videos you could watch about the political and sociological importance of this bond. This video is more about the artistic brilliance of this relationship and what it means in accordance with the themes and ideas of this show. Before we do this, however, we should ask ourselves what exactly are these themes and ideas? How does it compare on this front to its predecessor, Avatar: The Last Airbender? Both shows contain a lot of the same ideas about the beauty of self-improvement, about the necessity of learning from various sources, including sources you previously did not think would be of much help to you. But Korra changes much more significantly than Aang, who is basically just a more courageous version of who he already was by the end of his show. Korra is the Zuko of her series, but a lot of people don't notice this because her story is a lot less straightforward than Zuko's. What is Zuko's story? It is a redemption narrative. He starts off sullen and bitter and obsessed with the wrong things, and over the course of Avatar, he gradually rejects the false consciousness imposed on him. In more Sartre-like terms, he stops seeing himself in regards to the expectations associated with the role of the Fire Prince, and starts embracing his innate freedom to define his own values and his own morals. He creates his own meaning by deciding to side with the Avatar. Korra's narrative, conversely, is less dramatic and more realistic. A lot of us aspire to be like Zuko, but I don't think a lot of us see ourselves in Zuko's transformation, at least not directly. Avatar is a marvelous and nuanced show, but it still is a show that clings to absolute ideas of what good and evil are. The Fire Lord is evil, and opposing him is good. Now, there are an infinite number of gradations in between these two poles, but the two poles still exist. In Korra, things are a lot less clear. There is definite evil, sure, but what does definite good look like? The answer, as in our world, is opaque. Now, Korra is on the side of good from the beginning, but by the end of Season 2, she discovers that she can't cling to the definitions offered by other people as to what the good is. She needs to figure that out for herself. This is why the much maligned structure of the show, in which every season has a distinct theme and villain is actually brilliant. It's her defining her own morals. It's her defining her own ethical perspective. Season 2 details her ideological and spiritual growth. Season 3 is about her growth as a leader and a uniter. And Season 4, perhaps most challengingly, is about her growth into a position of true understanding. True, Korra has been compassionate from the beginning, but there is a difference between mere mundane compassion and the kind of transcendent understanding that we lamely label empathy because we don't really have a better term for it. Perhaps the best we can do is call it the platonic ideal of empathy. What I am getting at is that regardless of whether you think Korra's journey is as good as Zuko's, it is more complicated than Zuko's. It's not about making one single decision, it's about making a series of decisions, like it is for the rest of us. Being good isn't about picking one side, it's about having to figure what that is, and what that means for yourself, day after day, morning after morning. She doesn't choose a path, she creates a path. The problem here is how difficult it can be. It is a lonely job. There is no one there to make those decisions for you. Korra's friends call themselves the new Team Avatar, and they try their best to help her, but their ability to help her is limited because there is not a single quest uniting them like there was in the original show, where the entire old Team Avatar was united by the mission to defeat the Fire Nation. A major unexamined idea in The Legend of Korra is how there is a difference, a very big difference, between defeating evil and establishing good. The former is communal and majoritarian. It attracts a large amount of people, whereas the latter is a more difficult and lonely and esoteric quest. Enter Asami. Her first interactions with Asami are negative. Asami is kind of set up to be this double agent. Some of this is textual. Her father hides his ambitions to tear down the rule of benders under a veil of warm feelings and philanthropy. So one would expect Asami to have some association with that. She might not be completely innocent. However, a lot of this goes beyond the superficial textual level. Asami is set up as sort of a foil for our protagonist. She's attractive, wealthy, and the kind of nice that makes you a little suspicious of someone. In other words, she's set up as kind of this conventional feminine ideal in opposition to the tomboyish, rugged, and broke Korra. As our society has evolved, we've gone from favoring the more Asami-like archetype to favoring the more Korra-like archetype, but the major question is that, well, should there even be an opposition between these two archetypes? And of course there shouldn't be. It's limited and ridiculous. Asami was originally set up as a double agent, Konietzko and DiMartino have confirmed, but they dropped that plot because they decided they liked her too much. This is a major relief. Instead of being a typical honey trap femme fatale character, she's simply naive and earnest. Korra realizes she was wrong about her, and so the two of them become close. This is what The Legend of Korra is about. It's easy to say that Korra should not have been so gung-ho about her Avatar duties. Just like it's easy to say that she should have known her relationship with Mako was not going to work long-term, that the two of them were not compatible, and that she was just a teenager in love. Just like it's easy to stand here from the vantage point of the viewer and say that Zuko was wrong to internalize his father's rhetoric and ideals. But for Zuko, the solution is straightforward, even though he spends a long time getting there, and that's to join the Avatar and save the world. But for Korra, it's not that easy. She has to decide what to do after rejecting old paths. As she progresses and learns more about her duties as the Avatar, she comes to understand, especially by the end of Season 2, that there is no one archetype of the Avatar that she needs to strive to be. The only thing all Avatars have in common is that they fight to stop the forces of darkness and imbalance. What values she wants to espouse are up to her. It would have been definitely within her rights as the Avatar to force Kuvira into surrendering, just like she did with Zahir or the others. But that would reflect a value system that no longer fits her. She doesn't want to use violence all the time. Not when it's unnecessary. Instead, she extends empathy toward Kuvira. This angers a lot of people for some reason. I think a lot of people just want to believe that, number one, all their enemies are pure 100% evil, or number two, any art that does not fit their very narrow definition of what's politically acceptable is necessarily bad art, and I don't agree with that at all. I personally love this moment, especially because Kuvira is Korra's doppelganger, so her reconciling with Kuvira fits the journey of self-discovery she has been on throughout Season 4. That's what she chooses professionally. Personally, she chooses Asami. She never thought that she would be interested in her, just like she never thought she'd be so mature and borderline pacifistic by the end of the series. But Asami, having learned from her father's betrayal and how she struggles to forgive her father afterward, Asami understands Korra's suffering. Unlike Mako, she knows when Korra needs to be alone, and she knows how to comfort Korra without making Korra defensive. It's not a choice she ever believed was possible at the beginning of the series, but as the show progressed and she matures, she chooses this path, and it is ultimately beautiful. I love this relationship and how revolutionary it was at the time, but more than that, I love what it means for Korra as a character. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching The Legend of Korra. I'm a little nervous about this video since I know a lot of people really don't like this show for whatever reason, but I love it, and if this video does well, I might make more like it in the future. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.